everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we have a very special holiday treat for you all listening today. And if you can watch on our YouTube for this episode of the podcast, I think you'll might enjoy it a little bit more because we have 5 guests with us today. And we are talking with the writers from the Gift Wrap Romance series. It's a new holiday series, a collection of novels that are a lot of fun that I think the Hallmarkies will really enjoy. So I'm excited to talk with these authors today. I love talking with writers. I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and today we have authors Casey Stockton is here.
Hi.
And Anika Walker is here.
Hi.
And Esther Hatch.
Oh.
And Martha Keys.
Hey.
And Mindy Burbridge Strunk is here.
Hey.
Thank you to all of you for coming on the podcast. I love talking with authors. And so let's learn a little bit more about this Gift Wrapped Romance series. And so, Esther, you've been on our show a number of times before. And you were sort of my gateway to learning about this series. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it and how you all kind of got together and how this all happened?
Yeah, so we have actually been friends for years, and a lot of us started out or have written historical romance and also contemporary. So Rachel, when I've been on before, it's been for my historical Christmas books. And so it's been really fun for me, especially to dive into this contemporary, which I think will be a great fit for Hallmark listeners and Hallmarky listeners. So Casey, I think, was like the brain behind this idea. She did another Christmas collection. Who all was in that one last year? Similar to this. Martha, you weren't you?
Yeah, so it was me and Casey, and then Jess Heilman, Deborah Hathaway, Courtney Kiesel, Cindy Steele, and Gracie Ruth Mitchell.
Yeah.
So you had all done Regency romance, right? Before, I think I've been looking at in your bibliographies. So that's kind of an interesting leap to go from Regency romance to something contemporary. How did that end up happening that you all kind of decide to go and try contemporary? Was that overwhelming for you, Esther?
I think we probably have all different answers for this one.
Yeah.
For me personally, so it's a genre I absolutely love. I listen and read a lot of like rom-coms, and I've actually started a couple, but I think I really needed Casey to call up one day and say, hey, we're doing this. Like, we're going to make this work and make this happen, to really feel like the confidence to feel ready to dive into like a whole new time period. But I know everybody has different answers to this because multiple of you have, I think everyone except me had published contemporary, right? Before.
Okay.
So I was kind of the newest to the contemporary world, and I'm really glad they pulled me in. But it is very different, and it's funny the way the differences as just from like an author perspective. Like one of the hardest things for me was using a lot more contractions in your writing. So like it's like the writing part was kind of funny. You switched. I did present tense and first person, which I don't do very often in historical. Well, I don't ever do present tense. So things like that were a little bit tricky, but super fun.
So Casey, you had done a series before, contemporary, but how did you kind of get the idea, and how did this all come together for you?
Yeah, so I've done, I think, like 7 or 8 contemporaries. I've been publishing them almost as long as my Regency, but when we put ours together last year, the one that Martha and I were both in, it was a lot of fun. And so I had an idea like last summer for this book, and I knew it could fit into like this publishing period right now, and I just wanted to do it with my friends instead of by myself. So that's kind of how it happened. And then I approached like I think I approached Martha first and I was like, hey, want to write a series with me? And like Mindy has been writing contemporaries for a long time too, and Annika has them. And so it kind of just naturally came together.
Uh-huh.
And I knew Esther had wanted to, so I just peer pressured her into it.
It worked great. Yeah. That's how I've done everything in my writing life. Peer pressure.
Yeah. Very good. So let's go over each of the books and the kind of a little bit of the plot, what's going on. But before we do that, did you sort of coordinate with each other so that you weren't all doing the same, like you weren't all doing enemies to lovers or something like that, or did it all just kind of work out? What do you think, Esther, about that?
We did not coordinate that very well. I mean, not that it all turned out
they
great.
All are kind of different.
But I think for the most part, authors love to have like the freedom to write the story that is like driving them at the moment. So I think like the main thing we talked about was length actually, and just making sure if we're putting out 5 books, boom, boom, boom in a row, that they weren't too unwieldy, so that hopefully people could read the whole series and it would be like a fun Christmassy light evening that you could do it in an evening. You could read a book in an evening and it's not overwhelming. So that was probably our main thing. Anything else, guys, that you felt like we coordinated?
I don't know if like coordinated is the right word, but we do talk like the whole time. So I think like when someone had an idea, they would share that. And then everyone else knew, okay, that trope has already been kind of taken. So I don't know how much that affected everybody, but I think that communication kind of helped them all be a little bit different too.
Yeah, we actually did have a spreadsheet and people put like their basic plot outline so we could kind of look at that. We also have a character that's in all the books. So I don't know if you caught on to that, Rachel.
No, I didn't.
Like it's very subtle. Very subtle.
I read through them fairly quickly. So
you did. It was amazing.
I got a lot going on right now, but it was fun. Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. Let's talk individually about each of the books and give you a chance also to introduce yourselves as writers. And so let's start with Annika and tell us a little bit about your book. What's it called? What's the story? And how did you kind of come up with it?
Okay, let me see if you can see the cover. My book is Merry Kismet, and it's a story about Bree Holland, and she is coerced into writing a Christmas list, and she ends up putting her ex-boyfriend at the top of the list, not thinking it would ever come true because it's been 7 years since she's seen him. Yeah. And when he shows up on her doorstep and says he's her new neighbor, she can hardly believe it. But when her Christmas list starts to go awry, she's not sure if she's going to get a second chance at love or a chance to finally get over him.
Yeah. So how did you come up with this story? How did you decide to go like second chance romance?
I don't write a ton of second chance, but because of the length of this story, it really helps if the characters have known each other before. So that's one of the key reasons I did second chance. Is because I wanted to fit a really meaty story in this length. And anyway, and then the idea came to me to do this Christmas list, and I knew she needed to see him again and just have that. Kismet means fate, and so I wanted them to have this like full circle in their relationship.
Well, and it's really fun too because she puts the list and then it's like knock knock knock. He's like there at her door. Like what?
Yeah.
So that was there was a little bit of Christmas magic worked into it, which was fun.
Definitely some magical realism, something to keep the readers excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So next we have Martha Keyes. If you want to tell us a little bit about your book and how you got the idea to write it.
Sure. So mine's called Solo for the Season. So the characters didn't know each other, but like from early on in their childhood, they went to school together, and she was kind of a target of teasing at that time. She was a little bit of an awkward child, and he was part of that teasing. So a little bit of a rocky history, but she goes to a resort the Christmas before. She's been dumped by her boyfriend on Christmas Day. So this Christmas, she wants everything to be perfectly her way and nothing to mess up her holiday experience. So she goes to this cabin that's like ultra Christmassy, and to spend it alone. And
it's like
she's
a Santa suite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so she gets there and not realizing that the kind of assistant manager at the resort is this guy, Wesley, that she knows from her childhood that was one of the ones that teased her. So he's kind of gunning to get this manager position when his boss leaves, and he has to keep his professional relationship with the guests at the resort. But, there's lots of shenanigans that go down in her apartment, and he's kind of the go-to guy there. So, it's kind of that story of him trying to keep things professional, even though he's falling for her and her not wanting a repeat of her last Christmas. So
well, I think Hallmarkies fans will have a lot of fun with this. I mean, you talk a lot about Hallmark movies, and like she's got it all stored in her DVR. She's gonna be watching all these Hallmark movies while she's in her solo retreat, which I totally want to go to the Santa suite. I mean, who doesn't, right?
I know. I'm like, it sounds pretty fun. And like my family, we watch a lot of Hallmark movies every year. We actually play Hallmark bingo and stuff. So
nice.
It was kind of fun to put that into the book and a little
to like write your own.
Yeah.
And he's pretty hunky. I forget all the names, but
Wesley.
The whole lodge is all in love with him.
Yeah. I know. How could you not be, right?
That's good.
So
it was a lot of fun. Very good. All right. So then next we have Casey Stockton. If you want to tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so mine is called Cabin Crush, and it's like the unrequited love story where she's been in love with her brother's best friend her whole life. And he's just kind of like a serial dater. He's always had a girlfriend. So he shows up this Christmas and he's single for the first time, and so she kind of goes for it, and it's kind of fun.
It was really fun. There's a lot of mistletoe shenanigans going on in this one.
Naturally.
Because when she was a teenager, they kissed under the mistletoe, and it was like this boom 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 moment, but they both pretended like it was nothing because of her brother. And,
and it's like that awkward high school, they can't read each other, and so there's misunderstandings, and their families have been best friends their whole lives, and so they're still in each other's lives, which added a layer, I think, to like the Christmassy feeling to it. And anyway.
She's probably the most of like a grump at the beginning, would you say?
Yeah,
of any of
like a Grinch, maybe.
The leads. Grinch. She's been wearing a Grinch outfit.
Yeah, the whole time.
After the mistletoe, which was fun. That was a fun dynamic. All right. Well, Esther, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah. So mine is called One Small Secret. And I was really excited when Casey asked me to do this. And I've kind of had this idea to write a story based on some of my favorite old movies. And like, I think when people do this, a lot of times they're hoping to get fans to read it based on the movies, but these are kind of obscure ones. So I'm not like anticipating a lot of people reading it because of it, but it is inspired by Bachelor Mother and Bundle of Joy. So if you've seen those old classic movies, they really are amazing. And my book is very different from them. So I don't want anyone to go into it thinking they're getting that story, but the basic little premise
to it.
Yes, exactly. Is that my main character, Cadence, she's been out of the country for 3 years and she comes back and she is very motivated. So it's kind of an office romance. She's trying to make it to the top of Palmer hotels. And she lives in this town that has like kind of this rich history surrounding the hotel because that's where the first Palmer Hotel was built, and it was built by a friend of the family. And actually her family they bought his orchards so that he could build the hotel. So now her family still has these orchards. His family is mega rich and owns the hotel. So she's working for the company, hoping to make it to the top. And Reuben Palmer, which is like the long family friend, they were friends like through high school. And then things started going really weird when she started working for the company. And so they kind of go into an enemies phase. She comes back and the day after she gets home for the Christmas season she's going to stay now, but her stepsister leaves a baby with her and makes her swear she won't tell anyone it's her stepsister's. So now she's got this baby and people assume that she had the baby while she was out of town for 3 years. And it kind of affects Reuben a little bit. And he's like, how did this happen? I thought you were just driven and career motivated. And how did you end up settling down? And anyway, it kind of snowballs into some public scandal because he's a very public person. I kind of picture him as like the male Paris Hilton is basically kind of how I like tried to make him. So it's fun. I think they're super cute together. I loved writing it and I loved like basing it off of those old movies. And I hope people go watch them because they're amazing.
Yeah, I haven't seen, what was the second one called?
Bundle of Joy.
Yeah, I haven't seen Bundle of Joy. I have seen Bachelor Mother. I actually reviewed it over on my other channel. We should probably do it for our New Year's episode one of these days because it's a fun one for that.
That's actually when we watch it. It's for New Year's, so it's a Christmas and a New Year's movie. So yeah.
This one this one's the most dramatic of the 5. It's got the most drama. I was like, does Esther watch soap operas? This is very like I mean that in a compliment. Like it was really dishy. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do watch Korean soap operas.
Yeah,
so that's probably where that comes from. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was also probably the sexiest of the 5, I would say. Like it was pretty dishy. It was fun. Like it was completely clean romance, but just their chemistry was really good, I thought.
That was a fun thing moving from historical to contemporary. I feel like there's a little bit more leeway for that.
Yeah,
so that was fun.
All right. So last we have Mindy. If you want to tell us a little bit about your book and how you end up writing it.
Well, I'm the only one that actually doesn't have my paperbacks yet because they're still not here. So this is my book, which it's even backwards. Anyway, but mine is Jingle Bell Jilt, and mine is also the only one that they didn't know each other before. I think everyone else's book, they knew each other before, and mine, one of my characters, I mean, they kind of knew of each other, even if one of them didn't know she knew of the other. But so yeah, this was kind of my therapy book.
Okay.
Where it kind of got me through my September and October releases. Like it was if I just get this editing done and I can go work on this book. So, but it's about a girl who is supposed to get married 2 days before Christmas. And she ends up getting left at the altar. Her fiance never shows up for the wedding. And so on some ill advice of a friend, she goes on the honeymoon without him. And stays in this Airbnb that she doesn't realize is his friend owns it. The ex-fiance's friend owns the Airbnb. She doesn't know that. So she gets there and the first night she's there, a water break happens and she ends up flooding the whole house. So she has no place to stay, and like all of the hotels are booked. And so he offers to let her stay in his guest room. And so she moves in with him, and they kind of both decide, they both have crappy Christmas memories now. I mean, hers is recent, his is a little older, but so they kind of decide that they're going to make good Christmas memories so that they don't turn into those Hallmark people that have bad Christmas memories. And so, anyway, so then it sets about them trying to enjoy the holidays together.
Yeah. And you have a bunch of times, because this is all in Florida. So them going to Disney World and going to Universal, the Harry Potter world and everything. And so that must have been kind of fun to work that into the story.
It was. And, it was fun because we went to all those places last year. So it was still fresh, and I still can remember. And so it was kind of fun. It was fun to write about them. And it was fun to not be in necessarily the typical Christmas atmosphere, but still bring Christmas in. Yeah.
Yours was, I think, the wittiest of the five. I thought you did a good job with. It's kind of enemies to lovers. They start off kind of not really liking each other, and so the back and forth between them, I thought was funny, and I enjoyed that. Yeah,
hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny. It was good. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the good folks over at Baker Bookhouse Publishing and their fun holiday reads. Hallmarkies, if you can't get enough of the Countdown to Christmas movies, we have a treat for you. Get into the holiday spirit with not one, but two enchanting Christmas romance novels. First, immerse yourself in All's Fair in Love and Christmas by Sarah Monzon. An office rivals to more romance about two colleagues who have to use their Christmas spirits to compete for a big promotion. And for more enchantment, dive into You Make It Feel Like Christmas by Toni Shiloh, where a woman must return to her hometown for her sister's wedding to her ex-boyfriend, but she might end up finding a new love that lasts beyond Christmas Day. So grab your hot cocoa, snuggle under a blanket, and let these books sweep you off your feet. Purchase You Make It Feel Like Christmas and All's Fair in Love and Christmas for 30% off and free shipping at bakerbookhouse.com. That's bakerbookhouse.com, or you can use the affiliate link below. What do you think is particularly romantic about Christmas and the Christmas season, and why that works so well into these kinds of stories? Because on the surface, in fact, a friend of mine was like, I don't understand how Christmas became associated with romance. Like, on the surface, it's a holiday for children. Like, why did it, it's religious connotations speak nothing to romance, unlike, say, Valentine's or, something like that. So Annika, what do you think about that? What do you think that makes Christmas such a good time for these romances? And how'd that work into your story?
Well, Christmas is just a special time of year, and I think we can all agree with that. But also it's a time when the unexpected happens and the things that seem impossible happen. And I think that's where romance really shines. It's because we want these characters to achieve something that they couldn't get any other time of the year. And they want that chance to fall in love, and it finally happens at Christmas. And also Christmas is just a time when so much magical things are happening, all these events and traditions. And so it creates these perfect opportunities for couples to come together.
What do you think about that, Casey?
I agree, but I also think it's just such a cozy time of year. There's so much coziness to it that lends itself to romance. Like the idea of like curling up with a book or curling up with a Hallmark movie and your hot cocoa and a blanket. And so the weather plays into that probably a little bit, but also just Christmas vibes in general are very cozy. And that goes hand in hand with romance, I think.
What do you think, Martha, about that?
Yeah, I agree with both of them, shockingly. I think there are so many expectations around Christmas, like so many traditions, and kind of like Casey was saying, that cozy vibe that just makes you feel good. So the cozy vibe makes you feel good, and romance is kind of like this feel good thing, but also those traditions and expectations, I think create a great kind of scenario to have people, whether they connect or they butt heads, because everyone has their way of doing things. And I don't know, I think as romance readers and writers, we like to be surprised, but we also like a lot of familiar, and Christmas has a very like familiar feel to everyone. It just the whole time of year, just makes you feel a certain way. So I think it lends itself to romance for that reason as well.
Well, Esther, you've written anthologies for Regency Christmas. So what was it like now doing a contemporary and adapting the contemporary Christmas traditions?
It was super fun because I feel like there are more contemporary Christmas traditions, and maybe more to the point, there's more traditions that readers are familiar with, because they actually did have a lot in Regency Victorian times, but you almost have to explain them sometimes as you're writing. So it's nice writing contemporary where it's like I can throw in any Christmas tradition I want. People know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And they'll feel an instant connection to that because they maybe have those similar connections and things. So it was really fun. I was really excited actually to write a Christmas set in modern times. Although I will say, like, mine is probably the least Christmassy of all. A lot happens on Christmas, but like I probably needed to take a little more advantage of the hot cocoa and mistletoe, because like you said, mine has a little bit of drama to it. So a lot of stuff happens on Christmas Day that aren't necessarily your typical Christmas thing.
Probably yours and maybe Mindy's book were probably the least like super Christmassy, but like still there. Mindy, was that hard since you had a set in Florida? Is it a little bit harder to bring in those Christmas vibes?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's because it's not typical Christmas. Like there wasn't snow. Obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Because I didn't do some freak snowstorm in Florida. Fairly unrealistic. Right. So yes and no. I mean, I think, they have still mistletoe kisses, which I was going to say, I think probably Christmas for me is more romantic than Valentine's Day, because there's a lot more things. There's more hope around Christmas, and there's mistletoe. I mean, what do we hang at Valentine's that instantly says kissing?
Right.
So maybe there's an in there for someone to create something. But I don't know. I thought it felt Christmassy. I mean, they had a fire on the TV.
No, it did.
But I thought it was harder. I think it was interesting because there were times when I would actually mention in the book, like she walked outside and she was like, oh, there's no snow, because for a minute she forgot she was in Florida. And that partially might have been me while I was writing going, oh, wait, there's no snow when she comes out. And so I kind of thought if I was having that thought, she probably would have a similar thought. So yes and no. Disney does very good at decorating for Christmas, so you can bring a lot of that in. And
that's true. Yeah. Was it challenging writing your book because you have a character that's just had a failed marriage, she didn't get married, and for her to be starting another relationship so quick, that must have been tricky.
It was, because she's going to have reservations, obviously, and that's part of her whole arc is her whole thought process is this can be nothing more than a rebound. I'm just he's just my rebound guy. And I think sometimes we tend to get caught up on those things. And maybe sometimes people miss and think maybe it's a rebound when really they just it was just the wrong guy the first time, and somehow fate brought the right one along. Or the universe in her case.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, Martha, it must have been fun for you to create this whole Santa Haven. Santa Haven. Yeah, it must have been fun to develop like the ultimate Hallmark land.
Yeah, I like have a Pinterest board where I saved an inordinate number of pins, like with options for like decorations and things that they could have. And I just, as I was going through it, I was like, some of these decorations are like borderline creepy, you know? And so I decided to really lean into that. So it's kind of a funny vibe because you get the Christmas, but you also get her being kind of like creeped out by some of the elves and stuff. But it was really fun to just like go all in on the Christmas cabin and make it as dramatic as possible.
Well, and by the end, she ends up removing stuff from the like,
okay, let's tone it down a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And the raccoon scene, that must have been fun, right?
Yeah, I just like, you know, I've watched a lot of my TikTok is like entirely animals. And so I've just seen a lot of these raccoon videos, and it made me think about how you know, just like what we see isn't often terribly accurate to reality. And so I thought I'd just tag that in. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Was it fun, Esther, to kind of tap back into the experience of having a new mom, having a baby and everything that your character kind of learns from that experience? That it must have been kind of fun.
It really was fun. Especially when like she's a brand new mom, but she can't even tell people that she's got basically a 1-year-old, and everyone around her except her mom assumes that this is her child. And so she's, you know, she doesn't have a car seat. She doesn't have a crib. She's trying to navigate all this. And she's coming back into this work scenario where she really was expecting to come in full tilt and make it to the top. And instead now she's trying to juggle everything that's happening. So it was fun. I actually had to cut a few little things of like questioning her. like sometimes you get off on tangents when you're talking like funny things that I'm like, oh, that was so funny when I was a mom, and I would think that or think that, and sometimes it just distracted a little bit from the story. So I had to keep like what really was pertinent. But yeah, it was fun to kind of lean into that.
It kind of has sort of like Baby Boom. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it kind of has those, kind of has those vibes, which was fun.
Yeah. Where like your whole life gets switched around like that.
Yeah. So Annika, it must have been fun writing Rockwell, like such a swoon-worthy character.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If you're gonna write about a guy, you might as well make it.
Did you have like a leading man that you were kind of thinking of? Like, were you like a Colin Firth or somebody like that you were thinking of as you wrote him?
Actually, no. One of the ways I come up with my characters is I want the best fit for my girl. And so I'll look for what she needs. And I wanted someone that she never would have gotten over. Just like this guy that just stayed with her for a really long time. So that's kind of how I come up with my characters.
Yeah. So you don't have like an actor that you kind of think of when you're writing?
No. I must be weird.
Yeah, no, I think it would be. This one I think would make a very fun Hallmark movie. I think especially if you've got the casting right, because I could see like a Crystal Palaha or Tyler Hines definitely. I think could be a Rockwell. Yeah, for sure. That could be fun.
Yes, that's so fun. I love hearing other people cast my characters.
Yeah, there we go.
Like yeah.
Yes. And so Casey, it must have been a lot of fun to write that whole the original kiss scene. You know, she's wearing the Grinch, you know, the makeup and everything, and that must have been a fun scene to kind of put together.
Yeah, that's actually the scene that's the scene I thought of last summer that sparked the whole book, because I thought, hey, what would happen if like they kissed under the mistletoe, but he didn't know who he was kissing? You know, it's kind of like a different twist. And then how are they going to respond to that? And so
he's like, anyway, I like that way more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I mean, hello. It's Rachel. But yeah, it was fun. And she's like a theater nerd, you know? So the whole green face paint and everything, it just fit.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Well, I really enjoyed all 5 of the books, but before we go, I thought it would be fun. We have some holiday questions, and so I thought it would be fun to just kind of ask all of you what your favorites are. And one is, what is your favorite holiday drink? What do we think?
Hot cocoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of hot cocoa out there. You know, in Hallmark movies, they love having just the empty coffee cups. You know, and you can tell, like, they're swinging them around. You're like, "That's not even hold hot drinks." All right, what is your favorite holiday cookie or treat?
Sure. And
Oh,
sugar.
ginger. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I love sorry. I was
No,
gonna say
please,
like
go
a
ahead.
fudge with peppermint on top, or peppermint ice cream.
Mm.
Peppermint ice cream, actually. When it comes in the store, I buy it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
get
that's
that
mine
pink.
too.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite Christmas song or carol?
I just like a variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I like to listen to something different every day. I love that I can just turn on my radio and be immersed.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think, Casey?
Mine is Oh Holy Night. I just
Mm.
love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What is your favorite classic Christmas movie? And what do you think, Martha, about that?
Oh man. Oh geez, it's really hard. Trying to think of the ones that we tend to rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, old classics as much. A classic that it's become a classic for me is just The Holiday. It's not that, it's like obviously not very old, but
Sure.
I love rewatching that movie, and it it gets me every time.
Yeah,
Jude Law
yeah.
is just like so good.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a fun one. All right. Which do you like better? We can all just, this one is easy to yell out, but which one do we like better, Scrooge or the Grinch?
The Grinch.
Yeah, you got to say the Grinch.
The Grinch.
I think
Okay.
I like Scrooge.
Which
Unless
you
it's
like?
the Muppets. Unless it's the Muppets.
Oh,
then it's-
yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Which do you like better, clear lights or colored?
Clear.
Clear.
Yeah.
Clear.
Ah, everybody. Clear. Okay. Would you rather be in a snowball fight or build a snowman?
Snowman.
Snowball.
Probably snowman.
Mm-hmm.
No ball. Right.
All right. Would you consider yourself a good gift wrapper or not? It's
Not
a
at
gift
all.
wrap romance, right?
When I try.
Was that part of the criteria? I'm really bad at wrapping presents.
I can be good if I try, but when it's for my kids and it's
Yeah.
just going to get torn up, it's really hard to be motivated to make it look nice.
That's me.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Do you all have ugly Christmas sweaters?
No, and I
No.
wrote a whole scene about them.
Oh,
And now I got an email or a text message 2 days ago from my husband's family, and they're like, "What did we do? Homemade ugly Christmas sweaters this year?" And I was like, "Really? No." They're like, "Well, you can buy them, but we prefer you make them." I'm like, "No, because this means I have to make like 6 of them, because I have to make them for all my kids too, because we know they're not going to be making them."
right.
I only like to write about it. I don't actually like to wear them myself.
Well, a lot of times they're kind of scratchy.
I would have been Evan in the store, in my story, with the ugly sweater. That would have been me. I would have been like, "Excuse me?" No.
Well, very good. Well, I really enjoyed the series, and it's a lot of fun. And we'll definitely want to have each of you on individually, get a chance to really dive into your process and your writing, and that we've been able to do with Esther. It's been so fun. I think this is maybe your 5th time on, Esther.
4th or 5th. Yeah. I appreciate it.
So we love it. Fun. We love it. Let me give you each a chance to, again, promote your book. And also if you have any social media or anything like that you want to share, why don't you start, Annika?
Well, I am so excited for readers to get to enjoy Merry Kismet. It was a really fun book to write and has all the favorites of family game night, an awkward meet the family, and a crazy cat scene, and sneaking into his room late at night to get his list. I mean, just some fun scenes that you will enjoy. So I hope you get the chance to read it.
Do you have any social media that you want to share? Or?
Yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, author Annika Walker.
Great. And what about you, Martha?
So my book actually comes out tomorrow. Once again, solo for the season. And I think, I don't know, it's got a lot of like quintessentially Christmas things about it, just like the setting and everything that are pretty cozy, but then a little bit of the unexpected as well. So I think people will enjoy that. A fun little tidbit is it's connected to my last Christmas book, which is called Host for the Holidays. They're connected. They're both spinoffs from my series called Shepherds in Love. So it's kind of fun for people to find those little Easter egg connections when they read them. But yeah, it comes out tomorrow. My Instagram is just author Martha Keys, and same as for Facebook. So yeah.
And then what about you, Casey?
Okay, so Cabin Crush is my book, and it is already out. It's available on Amazon and free and Kindle Unlimited, and the audiobook it should be live any day now. So you can find it in all those places. It's fun. It's got all of the like crush feelings that you had back in the day with the shirtless scenes, and it's got everything you could possibly want in a romance.
And they're all available on Kindle Unlimited if y'all are subscribers, which I know many are. And do you have social media you want to share?
Yeah, author Casey Stockton on Instagram and Facebook.
Great. And what about you, Esther?
Yeah. So one small secret. Now that I've talked a little bit about it, you probably know what the small secret is. It's the baby left on the bed. Yeah. So I hope you love it. You can find me on author Esther Hatch on pretty much all the social media platforms. I have the same name, and my website is estherhatch.com if you want to sign up for newsletter. Thanks for having me, Rachel.
Great. And Mindy, you're the last one.
Mine is Jingle Bell Jilt, and it's just pretty much all around lovely.
Do you have social media or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I'm Mindy Burbage Strunk. I mean, why I need to do 2 obscure last names, I don't know, but I do. So it makes it easier to find, right? Mindy Burbage Strunk, pretty much all of them. So
yeah, very good. All right. Well, thank you to all of you. This was a lot of fun. And let us know if you're listening, if you get to read any of these, which ones are your favorites. We'd love to hear your thoughts. I have affiliate links and all the links to the social medias and everything in the description. So you definitely want to check that out and use the links. It helps the pod. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes and on Goodreads. So you can find me there. So check that out. And also make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps a lot. 5 stars. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that. We also have our Patreon group, which is a big help and support to us. And we have our merch store where you can get all kinds of fun Hallmark inspired designs. This year, our designs were a bit of a Barbie inspired. So I think they turned out real fun. So check that out. And thanks to all of you, and Merry Christmas. Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.